Welcome to Narrative's Leadership Story Talks, where great leaders go beyond the bottom line to create lasting impact. Join hosts Jerome and Julienne Ryan as they uncover the stories behind real-world challenges, offering practical insights to help you lead with empathy, authenticity, and purpose. Each episode dives into how leaders use storytelling to build trust, foster connection, and inspire action. Whether you're navigating workplace dynamics, driving change, or building high-performing teams.
I grew up on a farm in Michigan, and we had an agricultural-related business as well. And so I had a lot of responsibility there at a very young age in ways that most people would never be able to replicate. And I'm greatly blessed by all of that. And I remember one particular day, there was a farmer who was a customer. He was a neighbor. He was a customer. He's older than my father. So at the time, I don't know, time of the story, I was probably 19. And so my dad was 39. Jim was probably in his 50s, just to give you an idea. And I remember, and I don't remember how it came up, but Jim Howe said to me, Kevin, I believe there's something we can learn from everyone if we learn.
All right. Well, welcome back, everybody. This is Leadership Story Talks, as you all know, and we just heard from Kevin Eikenberry talking to us about something that happened when he was growing up and what somebody told him, and you know how he will never forget that, and that still influences him today, many years later. So that got me thinking as well, and I know both of us in terms of things that people say to us, and what's something that you'll always remember, something that was said to you? Do you have any examples?
I do. There is a wonderful man named Robert Dickman who took a moment to speak to me live way back before there was Zoom. And I had reached him on LinkedIn about storytelling and using it for applied, businesses to bring storytelling into the workplace. And he reviewed a presentation I was giving and asked me two questions that I've always kept in every presentation since then. How do you want to be received by your audience? And how do you want them to receive you? He didn't say go into character. He didn't say this is the latest and greatest style choice. He was like, what's the relationship? What's the goal when you're showing up in that room with people? And I have used those questions in so many meetings and so many workshops because it's the purity of something simple, and it just gets us to think about, I wasn't going to show up as just left brain and bullets and PowerPoint. I wanted a relationship with my audience. I wanted them to be relaxed and feel that I respected where they were in life and be empathy. And like our guests, backstories matter. And sometimes there's great treasures in those backstories, and we have to excavate them to listen and find out, there's something very important I've been carrying forward, and I can play that lesson forward for somebody else and myself.
Yeah. That's great. And the thing that came up for me, well, first of all, I love what this person said to Kevin, essentially that you just have to look and you'll find what you need, essentially. And I remember I had a mentor years ago when I first started working with narrative and kind of running behind the scenes, and coming from business school and a huge bank and working in finance for a few years. I had all these kind of big ideas and big plans, and I remember showing spreadsheets to the founders of narrative, and kind of all these plans, and 3 years, 5 years, and even more. And I remember Bob Fitzpatrick was his name, and he had had a long corporate career, and then found narrative and wanted to essentially mentor us, and we were more than happy to have that. And I remember he took me aside and he said, it's a little bit like when I hear you talk about these plans, it's a little bit like you're a huge tractor just moving a pebble and you're using all this equipment and all this stuff, and all you need to do is just move that little pebble. And he just said to me, simplify, simplify, simplify. And so I really took that to heart.
Oh my
At
God,
the
that's a great
moment.
analogy.
Yeah, the moment I was kind of offended, I was like, "Come on, man! I've done all these things, and I'm bringing all that to this company. That's kind of what was attractive to the founders about me. So what am I if I can't bring my spreadsheets and all that stuff, and all my plans, my 5-year plans. And so, but then of course I got it, because, it's true. There were only a couple people involved at that moment, and you didn't need these grand plans. You just needed to know what you were going to do this week. It was really about, what are the tasks on a day-to-day basis that we each need to do, as opposed to what's going to happen in a year, 3 years, or 5 years, right? It's good to have that vision, but once you have it, just go simple. What am I doing today, and then tomorrow, and then tomorrow? Yeah.
Oh my word. But you bring up a really important question or comment with that. It just spurred me. It's two people from a graduate school program that I had, and these two men were brilliant. And they were saying it's not always about the right answers. And that's
Mm.
what I liked about it. It's asking the questions and listening.
Yeah.
The answers are in the room, and they may actually surface if we give people a pause. But when we take the left brain logic and be, I'm here to give a cure, I'm giving a solution, then we kind of go askew. But to take a pause and allow other people to show up and share their expertise, share their impressions of what
Yeah.
they're experiencing, that's key to
Yeah.
making a change and making things make sense. Because
Hmm.
ultimately, like when you and I are working with groups, we walk away. We need to give people the tools and the facts, the things that they can work with that live
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, that's a good point. And you've just made me kind of think about, that's how we work as well, right? Is that when we work with groups on trying to, help them with their stories, all we do is ask questions and listen, really. We give them the
Hmm.
framework for telling a story, but then it's up to them to come up with it. And then they're going to ask questions, we're going to ask questions, but that's all it is. So we don't come in claiming that we know any answers. It's just trust that this framework works, and then, you know, let's see how you do with it personally. And that's
Hmm.
when things get a little bit more customized. But it's in that question and answer that the magic happens. So
Hmm.
yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think for our listeners, that's a valuable tool as well. Is, maybe ask yourself, what are the questions you need to ask at the moment, as opposed to what answers and solutions do I need to get, and see.
Or assumptions that you're walking around with
Mm,
too. That's the other tricky bit. So
yeah, yeah, for sure. All right. Well, thanks very much, Jules, once more. This was
of
a
course.
I love these
Um,
little short debriefs that we have that are chock full of insights and things that people can take away. And hopefully that's what you're getting, listeners. I do want to add one thing, because we are on the subject of how we work and, asking questions and what's the kind of story that you're going to tell. We do have a promotion right now with, because we have a partnership at Narrative with the New Mexico State University Global Campus. It's all online and it's self-paced and on demand. And we created an online course, and you can now find that online course and get 25% off just for listeners of this podcast with code narrative, NARATIV, like the spelling of the company. And that's in the episode notes. It's also on our website, NARATIV.com. So go check that out. And of course, if you have any questions for us, we're always happy to listen. So yeah, don't hesitate to get in touch. We have a brand new contact page too as well. All right. Thank you so much,
exciting.
everyone. Thanks, Julienne. And we'll
Thank
see you
you.
next time. All right. Bye.
For more information on the narrative listening and storytelling method and how it can help your business, go to narrative.co.